the ad hominem. Like a lot of the informal fallacies that you're going to study, they probably have a Latin name. That's what the ad hominem means. And hominem just means person or man. So ad hominem means against the man or against the person. An argument against the person as opposed to an argument against their claims. So I've mentioned this in another series or another video where I talked about the ad hominem. And in prison, it's very common for people for COs, for administration and staff to say something like, every time an inmate's lips are moving, he's lying. In other words, the idea that because you are somebody who is incarcerated, you are an untrustworthy person, you never tell the truth, you're dishonest, etc. If you are in the position of making a claim, making an argument or something like that, and a person says, yeah, well, you're an inmate, so I can't trust you. That's a person who's not dealing with the argument. They're only dealing with your character or you as a person, which most of the time is irrelevant. Interestingly, that doesn't happen when they're looking for a snitch, but for most of the time they believe that people in prison are untrustworthy. So instead of wrestling with your actual argument, they jump you and attack and trash talk who you are as a person. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy breaks it down as an ad hominem fallacy occurs when, instead of addressing the merits of the argument, a speaker attacks the opponent's character or circumstances, because there's several versions of the ad hominem. So one could be attacking you as a person or your character, accusing you of being, a dishonest person. Or it could attack the circumstances that you are in. So like the fact that you are an inmate, regardless of your character or what they might know of you, because you are in prison, that automatically disqualifies, the reliability of your testimony or something like that. We do this, again, consciously, sometimes unconsciously, most of the time, because it's easy to do. If somebody can just label you an unreliable inmate or, a 2 or 3 time felon or a convict or something like that, then it feels good to them. It saves time, but it doesn't actually address the issue. But that's essentially why we do it. Maybe the person doesn't understand your argument. They don't understand what you're actually saying. They're not competent enough to deal with you, and so they're looking for a way out. Or maybe they're the kind of person that would rather get accolades and laughs from other people. Maybe they're just completely trying to avoid an interaction with you. Who knows what their motivations are, but they haven't dealt with the argument. They've dealt with something about your character or circumstances, which is irrelevant. For example, if they don't want to trust the things that you say with regard to the legal system because they say something like, yeah, well, you're an inmate, so obviously you're bitter and resentful towards the legal system. You have a very biased or skewed view. Well, everybody has a particular bias or perspective that they're coming from. But the fact that you are in prison doesn't necessarily doesn't mean that anything you say is invalid or unreliable. Or with regard to religion, they don't trust anything you say because they say that you have jailhouse religion, right? You're just a jailhouse preacher, as if your circumstances somehow impair your cognitive abilities so that you can't read and understand the Quran or a Bible or something like that. Another one that gets close to the one we'll talk about next, which is tu quoque, which is basically when you or the other person is in a state of hypocrisy. So if you talk to your cellie about quitting smoking, but you smoke too, and his immediate response is, hey, look, you're a hypocrite, you smoke too. Well, that's irrelevant. So I'm going to explain tu quoque in a little bit, but the point here is that tu quoque is a kind of ad hominem because it focuses on what you're doing, your lifestyle, your actions, your decisions, and not the actual argument at hand, right? If I smoke and I'm trying to tell you to stop smoking, yeah, I'm a hypocrite, but that doesn't invalidate maybe scientific facts that I give you about how smoking is bad for your health or something like that, right? Just because I'm a hypocrite doesn't mean that the facts I'm trying to convey to you are irrelevant or invalid. So in dealing with this sort of thing, if a person is attacking you, or if you're trying to figure out what's really going on, then you just need to keep in mind a few questions like, have they mentioned my evidence? Have they mentioned the arguments or claims that I brought up? Or are they just mentioning me? They're just focusing on me and my character. If it's number 2, then you're dealing with ad hominem territory, right? How do you deal with this sort of thing? Well, don't clap back with another insult, because that will definitely get the conversation off track. And I know that would be hard to do for a number of reasons, especially if you're discussing these ideas in front of other people. Then we all have a tendency to want to save face in front of other people. But what you want to do is pull the conversation back, like you're pulling a kite down the run. Pull the conversation back to the actual argument and topic at hand. Do whatever you can to get it off of the focus on you and your character or your circumstances, and zero in on the argument and the claims being made. Critique the claim, not the convict.